Hey Cloud Gamers, welcome to CGX Cast 26. You may notice I'm not Ace. I know you guys haven't seen me for a while, but I'm afraid you're stuck with me this week, and it's been a long time since I've done this, so good luck everyone. So we'll start with the generalization of what's everybody been playing this week, and I'm going to go to Jerry first.
Really, I didn't get to game much until the new games dropped, so I've been playing a lot of the Medium and Dyson Sphere program. I grabbed that up on Steam to try it out. Both games have been a lot of fun. So that's pretty much where I've been spending my time, other than just trying to get some videos done for those. But Medium has been an interesting one. I'm sure we'll get into that soon enough. It's got its issues, but been enjoying both of those games a lot. Dyson really caught me by surprise. I've actually put probably 4 or 5 hours in that pretty quickly and had to quit and get back to editing because it's one of those games that will suck you in. You'll sit there for 8-10 hours and just keep going at it. So
For those that are new to the cast, who are you?
Game Type Planet. Jerry, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
And welcome Ben. But we'll let Ben warm up.
Hello.
One to Escape. Who are you? What have you been playing?
I am on mute because I'm awesome. I was trying to get the link back there. I linked to the wrong video there. I am One to Escape. I'm the one who gets shouted at by everybody in the cloud gaming community, and I have been playing a number of games this week. I've been playing some F1. I played the minority sport, which is Madden, on Stadia for about 5 minutes, and that tells you how much I played in Madden. It was bored me to absolute tears, but I will give some praise here. Madden on Stadia and the free weekend is a perfect opportunity to showcase how good cloud gaming is, because for us people in the UK in the panel here and who have been playing it does just show you can just jump in and give it a go and forget about it if you don't like it, which I will be doing. So it's been a fun week for me for playing the games, and I've actually stuck a load of time in.
Today we'll come on to Madden a little bit more later in a bit more detail. But Mark, who are you? What have you been up to?
Mark Watch VOG over on YouTube, Twitter, cloud gaming, some VR stuff. This week, mainly a little bit of testing. So just today, the Medium tested that on the Shadow Infinite tier just to see if it was suffering from the same kind of issues. And again, we'll get into that. Tested Geforce now on the browser for the expansion of Immortals Phoenix Rising today as well. And then for the rest of the week, I've been looking for a new MMORPG to play because I'm that kind of nerd, and I need something to pour some time into. And there's just nothing coming out, or there's nothing new. There's nothing out. There's lots of stuff coming in 2021. Those types of games are always coming. They're always delayed. They take about 5 years to develop. So I went back to one about a decade old, which is Star Wars: The Old Republic, and poured a bunch of time into that because why not?
Ever got into Elder Scrolls Online, man?
I played it when it came to Stadia, and I very much dislike it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's what you've been up to.
So I've been dragging my feet this week because the games that I wanted to play wasn't actually not out until late this week. So I was really just jumping into a bit of Destiny 2 just for a few level grinds, because I was waiting for the Yakuza collection, the remastered collection, to drop on Game Pass. Before that was my hype, and also I was really excited to check out Cobra Kai the game. I actually finished season 3 of Cobra Kai on Netflix, and I was really hyped. Like, yes, I'm going to go on Stadia and see if I can buy the game. And to my luck, it wasn't there. So I was sort of like, oh, I'll just play a bit of Destiny. So just dragging my feet until there's actually something decent for me to play.
Fair enough. It's been a bit of a slow month, but we'll come into some more of that in a bit. Ben, who are you and what you've been playing this week?
I'm Ben. You can find me on pretty much all these guys' Discord servers. Very active on most of them. What I've been playing, I kind of took the week off from video games. Caught up a little bit on Netflix and HBO and everything. Spent a lot of time watching movies. So did play a little bit of Monster Jam with my daughter yesterday because she insisted on it.
That's Steel Titans, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
And
Well,
then Ghost
for those of
Recon
you-
Breakpoint as always.
Ah, of course. Can't get around not playing Ghost Recon.
No, I had to play a little bit.
So for those of you that don't recognise me, I'm Marchief. I'm part of CGX, and I mainly do most of the comparisons and some of the gameplay videos. I've been quite enjoying the medium actually. It was quite interesting game. Few issues that we'll talk about in a little while, and one of the platforms specifically. But also, I've actually been quite enjoying Madden NFL, although it took me ages to figure out what the hell was going on and actually understand what the NFL rules are and actually how to play the game. But I didn't. It's great that Stadia has the ability for you to just jump in there, but I think NFL or Madden 21's failing is that there's no tutorial off the bat, and their menu screen is just wild with options. And I think it's a great game, but I think it needed a bit of work for those that are new to the platform, and especially for those Brits and Europeans, everybody else who's not American that might have wanted to jump into that game. I don't think it was probably the friendliest introduction to EA, but yeah, so that's what I've been playing this week. So
You know,
let's get
it's
on.
it's funny
Go
you
on, bud.
mentioned that. I feel like most of EA's games, in my opinion, their menus are very convoluted. Because when I
Yeah,
was
it's just
playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 after it was free on Epic, that menu is so confusing. Like it's not intuitive.
that game just seems to get bigger and bigger. Every menu you go into, it's like, oh, I'm going to go play this mode. Oh, there's 4 versions of this mode. Okay, I'll pick that one. Oh, there's 3 versions of this mode as well. Okay. What am I playing? I don't know. I'll just keep clicking buttons until I arrive in a game and figure out what's going on.
I just quick play every time, and it throws me in a game. I'm like, this will do. But I was surprised after it went free on Epic that there weren't more people playing. So I jumped back in like last few weeks. I've been playing it, just go on quick play, see what happens, and only about like 1 in 3 times will I be putting a game against other people. The rest of the time is against bots, which I'm not complaining about because I'm really good against bots. But
I don't know, I tried it on the Series X because it was free, obviously on Game Pass, EA Play. And I just wanted to see what it looked like. It's quite an old game now, actually, for Series X, especially EA in general. And I was actually quite impressed at how well it ran. And I didn't have any issues getting any matches. I did try a few of the different modes. I think the longest I waited was about a minute. And I think that was on the Galactic Conquest because it needs 60 players, I think. So I was quite impressed that there's still quite a big following there. And it was kind of middle of the day for me, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, as far as FIFA and Madden goes, their menus and all the different modes just they don't explain themselves very well, and you get stuck between a transition. You get like these transition screens for about 10 seconds that just do nothing apart from whiz stuff around the screen. So if you end up in the wrong screen, you end up watching about a minute's worth of transitions, which just annoys the hell out of me. And if you found that with the NFL specifically.
I have yet to try it, but I'm going to play it after this, I think.
Yeah, I'm planning on playing it tonight, so I'll get back to you on that.
It took me about 5 minutes to actually get the game started. I was just going through all the different screens, going, where am I meant to go here? It's not like FIFA, play now, work away, away you go, big lad, go and have some.
Amount of adverts it throws at you as well. It's like clicking dismiss for about 5 minutes to get into actually the main menu screen. And I don't know, I think I've seen this on Series X as well as Stadia, but some of those screens seem to be missing. So you just end up with a kind of like a blank screen, but then there's a dismiss button at the bottom. I don't know if any of you have been getting that as well.
I can't remember.
So.
I only played that one time. Not for me. I think it's going to be like the guys in America who, when FIFA comes, and I'm assuming there's going to be a free weekend as well. If you're not into proper football, you're going to go. This isn't for me. It's really boring, and it's really not there. It's just wherever culture you've been brought up in for it. But yeah. It's very easy to get a reaction. All you have to say is proper football or minority sport, and you just get so many bites. It's fun.
I love both soccer and football.
That's the same thing. You're saying the same thing there.
And he's just baiting you now. Come on.
I did do about 2 hours of Madden on Stadia just to mess around with it, and I've played it on the Series X as well, and I've played almost every Madden game that has come out, and those games have gotten super bloated over time, and I've lost interest the farther we go. I actually like the older Maddens where it was like exhibition, career, some settings, weather. You go in, you're done. There's definitely a lot more going on now with Madden than there used to be. I find it a bit overwhelming, even as an older Madden player.
See, I joined in a few streams to actually watch it because I was interested to see how Madden actually played, because I'm not really interested into this American football. So I was just joining into people's chats, just trolling. I was agreeing it looked more like interception football. There was more throws, tackles, and blocks than it actually was kicking. So I was just joining people's chats, just making comments. And they knew straight away, oh, you must have been a FIFA fan. And I'm like, yes. So apart from that, it did actually look gorgeous. I don't think I'll jump into it at the price it was. But if it was a little bit cheaper, if the base game was a bit cheaper, I would actually play it and actually try to learn a little bit. Because I know there's a lot of players on my friends list that was playing Madden. So this would have been a great game to have a few co-op laughs with a few friends.
What
I
I'm
found
actually
it was quite hard to get into, actually, or even find the normal head-to-head mode in all the menus. I only found it, I think, by accident. And even when I got invited to a game, it failed to actually load me into a game. So I haven't actually played against any other real player, I don't think.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm actually looking forward to next week is what the numbers are going to be on Madden, because you can actually see how many people are playing at the moment. And at this moment in time on Stadia with the free weekend, it's actually fair. Listen, I am praising Stadia here. Are you ready? The numbers playing on Stadia here are actually pretty respectable compared to other platforms. At this moment in time, there's about the same number of people playing on Stadia than there is on Steam. Yes, it's not a big, massive market on Steam, but it is in the ballpark of that. So what I'm looking to see, what is the drop-off effect here in the next week? Will it go? I know what my feelings, what the numbers are going to be next week, but that is going to be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, with EA Play on Steam now as well, I think that's probably one of the bolstering effects for something like Madden. And it is free to play everywhere right now. So it's free to play on Series X, Steam, no matter what. So if those numbers are going to drop off, they're going to drop off everywhere, I think, because that's the way it is. I'm surprised it's not part of EA Play at the moment on Game Pass. I think it's still a Play Pro title, so you're not going to get that rolled in. So I think it's just going to fall off everywhere. I don't think I'm going to pay 30 quid for it, to be honest, even though it's on sale. If it was part of the Pro subscription, I'd probably keep playing it, but I don't like it enough with all the challenges and other bits and pieces, with all the other games that we've got available right now, to go and spend £30 on it, I don't think.
And it's weird because, American football is such a seasonal sport. It's not like, world football, soccer, where it's played year round.
Proper football.
Yeah, whatever. I grew up overseas, so I grew up calling it football too. But I lived here for the last, I don't know, decade and a half. As soon as February 7th hits, I see it dropping. Once the Super Bowl is over, people are just going to stop playing it.
I think this is one of the things I was going to talk to you guys about, and maybe it's a good segue into, is are we spoiled for choice for the games now? With so many games coming out, with so many game subscriptions, is there just too many games to actually be able to focus on any one? I find it extremely difficult to finish a game.
Yeah, I think we're very spoiled, and I think the statistics actually said that a lot of people only play about 2-4 games a year, and that's usually like COD and then a sports game and maybe another game that they sort of drag along. So for us to actually play multiple per month over the year, we actually definitely are spoiled.
I think Cyberpunk's my most played game in the last year. I think my Steam's showing about 81 hours. But even now, I want to go back into that. But there's things like the Medium. There's things like I've forgotten something Sphere, which does look really good. Go on, Duncan's going to tell us because
Dyson Sphere program.
Because I've been waiting for a new Command and Conquer for forever. And I think Dyson Sphere program is probably the closest I'm going to get anytime soon. Even though I did hear that they're redoing Generals at some point. It'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, I played all the Command and Conquer games, and that's kind of why I grabbed up. And for $20, I think it is on Steam. Dyson Sphere program was definitely a good grab. Reminds me of Command and Conquer, but I'm even older than that. I played a game called Total Annihilation back in the day on PC, and it reminded me of that a lot. And that's what started sucking me in. That's why I just like shut it down after 4 hours and quit, because I will just keep going. So it's definitely a good grab, though.
Yeah, I said this in our chat earlier in the week. I think people don't actually realize how big this game was and how Geforce now actually reacted to actually get this into the program, into their platform there. This game earlier in the week sold, it's only out this week, and it's a 200 or 400,000 copies this week, and it's only in early access. It has just sucked in a hell of a lot of people. And if you're in this, if you follow people who play them sort of games, it is nothing but that's all they're playing now. It has just sucked them completely in. And I think I may have showed you as well. It's one of the most top played games on Steam at this moment in time. It is getting played more than, I forget what, there were some absolute massive names there, where this is just beating them at the moment. It is definitely a game you need to check out if you're into that sort of thing.
I'm just going to go and try and find that list on the side, but yeah, I think Dyson Sphere program, the more you guys talk about it, the more that I've seen of it, I definitely want to go and hop in. But as I said, we've got so many games on the table right now. It's another, as you said, it's only 20 quid or $20, but it's another $20. And that, am I going to spend that? And when am I going to get around to it? Or do I add it to my wish list on Steam and wait for the notification at some point in the next 6 months for it to be on sale to actually buy it and then dive in? I bought Black Memory after you guys' recommendations, and I played about an hour of it, and that was another 15 quid that's just sat by the wayside.
I definitely wouldn't waste my money on early access. I seen Duncan's tweet about it, and I thought to myself, "Oh, that's great that there's actually people on Geforce now that really want this kind of like real-time strategy game." But if it's so huge as what people expect, and I was actually thinking the gamers should actually start saying to their developers, "Well, bring actually the bigger games that are actually huge on Steam." So more games that relate to me or the casual gamer instead of actually just this one game. I feel like GeForce now is just full of simulators and RTS games.
They do have a good amount, but so many just aren't very good or very popular, and it kind of takes a game like this to grab a bunch of people. And I'll say, as far as early access goes, I hate early access games. I mean, you always mention that we hate that. Baldur's Gate early access didn't like that. There's other ones. This game doesn't feel really early access to me. It feels pretty ironed out, and I didn't have any major issues. So I'm sure there's going to be changes, but I didn't feel like I was buying a game that was going to be something completely different down the road. I feel like it's actually pretty close to where it's going to be. So it did feel a bit different to me than normal early access games.
Yeah, it's going back to what Chief was saying about it's just another game, it's just another game. There is so many games coming out, and that is why subscriptions are going to take off. And earlier this week, another company has came out and said subscriptions are happening, and it's just a matter of time for it to take over the whole gaming industry, and that was Capcom. Earlier in the year, Square Enix has said that as well. So that's two companies, and we're still. It doesn't feel like we're still in January, but we're still in January here. And two companies, massive gaming publishers, have came out. Subscriptions are happening. Cloud is happening. So there is obviously something big rumbling away there, and we're just waiting for what it's going to be. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see where this all brings us.
Yeah, so you can see they're quite high up on the list, and considering Madden 21 is free right now, it's nowhere in the list that I saw there. I did scroll about it, but I don't think I saw Madden anyway.
Like I said, like I said, it's a minority sport.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. So what about the other EA games? Like we just saw FIFA 21's actually still quite popular, even on Steam there. What do we think are going to be the other two games, and where is FIFA?
I think what has happened here is Stadia has. I think EA has said we're going to bring the games, you choose the order, and they have went Madden first. The reason why they've went Madden first is I think they still believe that the US is the biggest market for them, and they want to appease the American audience because they're obviously bigger at this moment in time, or more focal, one of the two, because Stadia hasn't been in Europe that much and have only expanded out some more. What the other two EA games is anybody's guess. They could be absolutely anything.
If I could guess the two, I'd say It Takes Two and the Mass Effect's Legendary Edition. They're the two that I would want to see ASAP.
I would like to see them too, because that would actually be really big news, because yes, the Mass Effect is an old game, but there's a collection is coming here, and you would hope that would be coming day and date and that. I'm going to say Plants vs. Zombies and Peggle.
If the two most outrageous. See, I would love to see something like Squadrons come to show some power for Stadia, and I just know it's not going to happen. So, and again, we keep hearing of games that people want from EA. Things like Battlefront 2 would be an awesome game, even though that's an old game. But again, it's got to have crossplay, and I think Stadia even needs to get some better single-player games. Mass Effect, okay, it's an old game. Something like Andromeda would be really cool, but it's just not seeming to go that way. It keeps bringing these these multiplayer titles, but without crossplay, and I think that's a big killer. And I think that's one of the things we'll talk about Luna later on. That Luna concentrated a lot more on the single player side first, but yeah, I don't have a clue as far as the EA games go, but I can imagine that it would be something like Plants vs. Zombies.
I've always predicted Plants vs. Zombies. I think if they do bring, like we said, some of these slightly older single-player titles, they need to get the pricing right, because I don't think we've seen that historically. They've been, here's a game that came out 5 years ago for the price it came out at 5 years ago.
Jedi Fallen Order was a good example of bringing a game over, and then it was on sale, like $22 or something when it launched. I grabbed it up. I think everybody grabbed it up for testing, but that was good. They weren't charging $50 or $60 for the game like when it launched, so they definitely need to do a lot more of that.
Yeah, I think they matched Steam at that point. That's how much it was on Steam.
So what about FIFA? Any thoughts about when we're actually going to get this game? Because it originally launched in October. So obviously every day that goes by, we're closer to FIFA 22.
I'm going to say this because I've got a horrible feeling this is what it's going to be. Champions League final weekend, and they're going to try and wrap it into that. Like that's the big thing. So like the Super Bowl, which in reality it's not. I was having some conversations about this, because we're talking about the Super Bowl's massive, 100 million people watch it. Man United v Liverpool league match. How many people watch that? And this isn't a big thing. 500 million, and that is just a regular
Premier
sort of
League,
Premier League game. So FIFA could drop it anytime, but I think they're going to have it in their head. It's going to be Champions League weekend. Would be my guess.
That's a ways away still, though. I was thinking like March.
That would also require some planning and some forethought and some decent marketing. So
They better not wait till the Champions League final. I understand the marketing behind it'll be a big, huge push, but these games usually go on to Game Pass about May, June. So promoting it on Stadia just to go on Game Pass will actually cripple it.
Well, like we've got FIFA 20 on Game Pass now.
Roughly about June, the start of June. Usually FIFA joins. It's usually Madden first, then FIFA, roughly in June. So if the Champions League's the end of May, it'll be bad for Stadia.
When's the season finish?
Roughly about mid-May.
So it's about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And what about NFL? When's their season? Because it's Super Bowl now, right? That's what it's.
February 7th. Yeah.
So that's it. That's the end of the season after the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And they charged £30, over 30, well, half price for the game. Oh, that's steep. when you think about it.
So when did Madden 21 actually come out then? Because FIFA
August.
20
August.
came.
It always
Oh,
comes
wow,
out when the
okay.
season starts in August, and then they get their updates all the way through to the Super Bowl. And I think I've said before, I'm one of those people that will play Madden through the season, but once the Super Bowl hits, the game's dead till the next one comes out. So for me, I know a lot of people like to keep it going all summer, but for me, it's done after the season.
Most people I know are the same way. They get hyped. They play it at the beginning of the season to kind of get a feel for the season, kind of see like the players that are on there and everything. And then once Super Bowl ends, they kind of do their own version of Super Bowl on Madden, and then they quit.
So it's only about 7 months the season compared to like half football, which is like 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even during the summer, FIFA's still going on. But I think, would I be right in saying that the Ultimate Team's a bit more fleshed out for FIFA than it would be for Madden, where the Ultimate Team is like what most people play and everything else is just hacked onto it, while the Madden would that be more multiplayer rather than the Ultimate Team, or is Ultimate Team growing that there?
We're all looking at you, Jerry.
Oh, you're looking at me for that because I don't mess with FIFA. I know the online community goes longer for Madden, and I know people like Project Storm are just deep into that. I mean, he ranks really high. I watched most of his games, and FIFA is more fleshed out when it comes to a lot of that. I think it'll have more longevity. But like Holtz is saying, if they don't release it until like May, that's a little bit rough. And I wonder how many people game on other platforms like we do, not just on Stadia. If they really wanted to play it that badly, they've already bought it and started playing it. Diehard FIFA fans do not wait until the end of a season to buy a game. They'll wait and buy the next one on Stadia when it launches in October or whenever.
And the whole point is, I'll be very nitpicking with this because I actually bought FIFA for the Series X on Christmas, and that was well over half price. So if Stadia only came out at 50% in May, I'll be very judging it. So if it dropped the price really well, yeah, of course I'll go over the summer and play some games, but it would have to be cheap.
You know what they should do if they're going to be really smart and they want Stadia to really take off, build a community. They should make it a pro game off the bat. That would bring in such a huge crowd. They've already waited so long for the game. They're getting closer to the next one than they are to the release of this one. That they should just make it pro and suck everybody in.
That's basically what I did with Game Pass. Is my son wanted to play FIFA. I didn't mind playing FIFA. FIFA 20's free on Game Pass, or I'm going to go and spend 40, 50 quid on 21. Well, I don't care that it's last season teams. It's still FIFA. FIFA hasn't really changed a lot. So it was a small hop for me. So yeah, if 21 comes out on Stadia at full price, it's like, well, no, I'll just keep playing 20 for free.
Yeah, what I actually think about FIFA and Madden this year on Stadia is that they're basically just proof of concepts that they can get everything working on the Stadia, and any sales and money they can make off it is a Brucey bonus. And it's like, okay, then we're. I don't think it's going to cover cost at this moment in time. The big test for them is when they come out later on this year. Then are we going to get a day and date on Stadia? I think this is just the start of the process, hopefully.
Well, I'm glad to see it because I was a bit worried actually seeing the sports genres on actually cloud. So when I actually seen American football Madden actually run, I actually seen no problem with it with the streams that I was watching. So I was like, yes, finally this genre is going to run smooth, and people were quite happy with it. So I welcome people investing in this one and then waiting for the next year's season.
I'm not sure. I just put something in the chat there. Speaking of sports games, do we think we're going to get the show on Stadia? Because the Xbox cover has just been revealed for it. So do we think that's going to come? Because I know that is a big game over, another big American game over there. So
you're getting us into dangerous territory here, though, because now you're going to make us give opinions on baseball, and that's not a good idea.
Come on, I played baseball for 8 years. We're good.
All I'm going to say is thank you, baseball, because that's one of the reasons why Liverpool won the league.
I just see baseball as rounders, so I have a really hard time with baseball.
The Moneyball carry-on is what one of the reasons why Liverpool transformed into the superpower that they are now.
Fair enough. Somebody in chat said baseball isn't big. I'm not in the US, so I.
Yeah, but in some Asian countries, baseball is actually just as big as America. So if it's all about,
if we're being honest, it's probably bigger in those Asian countries than it is.
yeah.
In the
So
US
so
right
if we're talking about these sports games like baseball going to like these Asian countries where the new cloud services are open, then I welcome it. I welcome seeing this game going to like.
The problem is that none of the cloud systems that we are currently using are in Asia. So, with the exception, I think, of Geforce now just launching in Taiwan.
So there you go. So Geforce now should be the first one to push the narrative for this show. Yeah.
So Titanfall is actually still quite a big game at the moment, and I was actually quite surprised, and also extremely glad that Titanfall 2 was part of Game Pass and hopping on, and not actually having to wait that long to get a match in any of the modes. So do you think that this could be one of the extra games that comes to Stadia?
I would love to see Titanfall come to Stadia. For me, it would be almost as important as Apex coming over to Stadia. Titanfall 2 is the most underrated online multiplayer shooter game that there is. It's fantastic. I still love playing it. You can still get matches quickly, probably quicker than Battlefront on PC. If Mark wants to jump into Titanfall 2. But it's definitely, I would love to see that come to Stadia. I just don't want to see it come at 30 FPS. I don't care what you need to do to the graphics. Bring it at 60 and it'll be beautiful. It'll run great on Stadia.
Oh, that game has to be 60 frames per second. He said, I don't know how many other people on the panel here have played it, but my God, that game is so fast paced. 30 frames per second would just look awful.
Titanfall 2, absolutely brilliant game. It's just. I do not mind short games, and the single player of Titanfall 2, I think, is the perfect length. It isn't a really long game, and it's not completely short. It doesn't outstay its welcome, and I think that's what you want. You want games which are leaving you wanting more, and Titanfall does that. And it would be a great game to get on Stadia if it comes at the right price. Again, it's an old game, and unfortunately, you can pick it up for a couple of or $5, $10 at a load of places. So, yes, that would be a brilliant game to bring over at the right price. And unfortunately, that's what we're going to be saying a lot for a lot of these cloud platforms. It's the games have to come at the right price. They're trying to stock up in their old library, or they're trying to get their library going, but they're using a lot of old games, but people won't pay full price for the old games, or they're going to wait for Pro. It's a very, very delicate balancing act they have to do at this moment in time.
So do you think that they should be pushing more games to Pro and pushing that subscription, make that $9 a month worth $9 a month?
I think Stadia at this moment in time is a subscription-based service where you can buy games. It's nearly a subscription service first, rather than a place where you buy games. Because they just chuck so many games to Pro, they're incentivizing you not to buy games. So I just don't understand where they're going to be going. Are they pivoting to a subscription? Not over what we've seen over the last couple of months, because they're now reducing the Pro games down again and taking it's just confusion messages coming from Stadia. I personally feel that there should be some sort of subscription service there, just a proper game subscription service rather than this so-so one.
It feels like they're working backwards from what Microsoft is doing. So obviously Game Pass has come out as a subscription service. And Phil Spencer has now mentioned, okay, the ultimate aim is that if people want to buy selected titles, that they can buy it and keep it and play it on like xCloud, whereas Stadia's just gone the opposite way, and they've gone with you can buy all the titles, and then slowly over the time maybe it will transfer into like more of a subscription model that that mirrors what we get with Game Pass. By the way, this store has always been here, and you have the option to buy these games. At least with that model, we haven't at least seen with Stadia yet. You wouldn't see these games kind of roll in and roll back out.
But Game Pass has like 400 games, right? So it's a bit more. You've got a vast library to choose from, Game Pass wise, versus you want that game that just released yesterday. Yes, you still need to buy that, unless it's a Microsoft first-party title, in which case, here, have it for free as part of your subscription. Whereas Stadia, well, we're back down to 32 pro games, most of which are, I'd probably say 90% of are indie titles that a lot of people probably would never have bought anyway. So realistically, only 10, 20 games that you might want to play long term. I don't think they can be a subscription model at the moment, but something like EA Play, bringing in those Madden, those FIFA titles into Pro, I think would bring a lot more people to the platform, like you say, rather than saying, oh, here's Madden, you want to play it, it's 30 quid.
Yeah. I feel like I'm taking over here, so people just tell me to shut up. With this, I think we can actually see how things are actually going to pan out. As you said, with Microsoft, they're going to be first parties, going to be their big push towards Game Pass. And what we've been seeing is they are going out there buying studios, and it looks like they're going to get another one, Sega. Sorry, did that slip out there? Because of the Sega news this week, in which they're spinning off their two different functions, basically. So that's got takeover all over that. This is the problem we've got, is everybody is seeing what is happening in the entertainment industry, where all these different streaming platforms have taken off. Netflix was out there first, and they built up their numbers using their old TV or using old TVs and movies just to get the audience. And now they're more reliant, or starting to become more reliant, on their own content. And that's what we're seeing here with Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. Everybody is just trying to get all their content in together. This is the real big worry for all these cloud services. It's going to be content down the line, because all these big, massive corporations are going in and just gobbling everybody up. And there's only going to be like 4 or 5 massive, big entities. So it's just really interesting to see how this is all going to pan out in the next couple of years. We can see that nearly on a daily basis. Tencent are buying companies up, buying stakes up, nearly on a literally on a daily basis. It is just mental out there.
Yeah, Duncan's on top of it all. So Microsoft has probably the best right now and future vision for gaming, with Game Pass, consoles, xCloud. Arguably, xCloud's not there yet, but we know where it's going, technically. Phil Spencer was saying about, I want to get it to where any game you buy in your library you can have on xCloud, which would make sense, because our Xbox game streaming we can do is any game on our Xbox, so let's just take that to the cloud. That would be great. I really wish that Stadia would concentrate less on just bringing games for the sake of bringing games. Go out and look at what games have the largest player base and concentrate on bringing those over, because you need games that bring the people. The games are, we say it all the time, Warzone, Apex, Fortnite, all these games that we may or may not necessarily care about have the biggest player bases. Snag them. Bring them over and you'll get more people. I think that just bringing tons of indie games and all the types of stuff they've been doing, and their business model has been a little bit off. And if they don't make more changes soon, I don't know how good they're going to continue to do. They need to bring games over that have the largest, the largest player bases. Luna got Rainbow Six Siege with cross-play. It's in beta. That service isn't even out yet. And they have that, and Stadia does not. So they got to do something with that.
Don't talk to me about Ubisoft games. We'll come on to that. But
to me, whoever. Sorry, Steve.
Go on, Alex. I was just going to comment on you.
I said to me, whoever gets Sega, I'll actually be running to them. So if Microsoft actually do secure a Sega deal, I'll be running to them. I'll be like, yes, give me Yakuza, Shin Megami Tensei, give me Warhammer, and give me all these games I can just roll off the top of my head. Bayonetta, Vanquish, and all that. And to see that on the Microsoft platform, I'll actually go, okay, I'm not actually considering other platforms now, because this is the place where it looks like I'm going to be for a few years.
So I was just going to say, these top games, right? We know Ark Survival Evolved is coming to Pro soon-ish on Stadia. Football Manager 21. Duncan, is that actually here, or is that the one that's not coming?
Okay, I was going to say something about your list there, which you've got highlighted down to. I would have highlighted down to Ark. there is 3 games there which are frustrating me. We know that PUBG is on Stadia there, but 2 games are frustrating the life out of me, and the other game, in Ark Survival Evolved, we know is coming at some stage this year. Football Manager 2021, if you go read the tweets by Miles Jacobson, it's done. It is ready to be deployed onto Stadia.
Well, you do know who actually owns Football Manager, who publishes it?
Yes, I do.
So if they actually do it with Microsoft, it's bye-bye for now.
Oh, it's bye-bye forever. For people who don't know, it is Sega who own Football Manager, believe it or not. But Football Manager 2021 is done for Stadia. There seems to be something going on behind the scenes there, some complete and utter weirdness there. I've got my feelings about it, and it's there's something just so weird there, because that is the perfect game for Stadia to promote in the UK, playing Football Manager in your browser. And the other one is the 4 mentioned Siege. Where is that on Stadia? We know, officially we do not know that it is coming, but we have seen the ERSB, I can't say it, the ratings boards leakings of that, and we know how close Ubisoft and Stadia are. So them 2 games there, they have got their 200,000 people, over 200,000 people have been playing that on Steam today. That is some audience which you could actually be pulling towards Stadia. It's just frustrating why they're not going after some of these games. And if you go down a bit further, there's another free-to-play game which I think could draw a hell of a lot of people in Warframe.
Yeah, Warframe's on Geforce now, and I recently, so I think we'll move over slightly to stop bashing on Stadia as much. But Geforce Now, I was testing out the free-to-play version, kind of trying to do a what can you do for free, and actually on Geforce Now turns out not a lot, because everything is queued backed up, and things like Warframe, Apex, Fortnite, Ark, they all have queues of up to 100 plus. In kind of evening time UK for me. So, GeForce Now's definitely got a lot more people waiting or wanting to play, I feel. And those free-to-play titles clearly are bringing people to the platform, because they are sitting and waiting in a queue to play for an hour of a free-to-play title. So, they are the type of games that I would expect to be pro titles. They're the ones that you want people to come. Now, Ark, I have probably had the worst experience in getting to know a game. I downloaded Ark across 5 different platforms, and that game is 110 gig, I think. So you can imagine how long it took to install on pretty much each one of those. And I basically just died within the first 30 seconds of any game mode or server that I just hopped into. And it was just a horrendous experience. So I'm really not looking forward to that coming to Stadia, because I think it's going to be so much time and effort for people to dive into and never go back to, because that was just one of the worst experiences I've ever had starting a new game. Rust wasn't far off, but I did manage to get over the learning curve quite quickly. And I'm quite surprised to see Rust is like the 3rd most popular game on Steam right now. And I think it's these type of games, although especially as they are online only games, and I think that that's a big thing that cloud should be targeting. If it's going to be multiplayer, it should be online only or single player, because you're already connected to the internet, right? You can't not have the internet to play these games. So the argument where people say, "Oh, what if I want to play offline?" is completely irrelevant for those titles. So I think GeForce Now has done that. It's gone for pretty much as many of the big free-to-play titles. Looking through this list, most of those are on GeForce Now.
Yeah, would I be right in saying that the only one not on GeForce Now there in that page you've got there, I'm just having a quick look at my head's like a sieve, would be the big one in GTA? All the other games there you're able to play in GeForce Now?
I think they are. Yeah.
Oh, and Age of Empires 2, I don't think. Sorry, that'd be the
Age of Empires is.
Is it? But GTA, I think we know. But the rest of the games we think are on available on GeForce Now, which you can see where they're trying to go with that. And I think it's the community has been pushing that because we knew, that's going to get me in trouble again, because we know how simple it is for games to actually go into GeForce Now compared to other platforms.
Well, especially Steam games.
Yeah.
Steam they are in bed with it, aren't they? So
Well-
Age of Empires is not on GeForce Now.
Have we had the roadmap yet for February's games for GeForce Now?
No, so that's the other thing that we've seen a big change in recently, right? GeForce Now are being far more open with what's coming.
Because there's a
versus
there's a franchise called Persona that I really love, and it comes to PC very late, and there's a huge community on the PC, and now it's finally coming to PC day and date. Persona 5 Strikers is coming to PC on the 23rd of February, and now I'm actually eager to actually see if GeForce Now is going to publish a roadmap of February, and there's that game on the list. So I'm eager to actually see, will they actually start supporting these titles, or will they just move on, and I won't see these games that I'm really interested in playing.
So just so everybody knows, what their plan is basically with that is they probably will not announce that before the very first Thursday of each month. Their plan right now is to give you the roadmap the first Thursday of every month, and then every Thursday after that, give you those weekly releases. So like you won't hear anything today or tomorrow or anything for February. It'll be the next Thursday when we release that news. That'll be the big news for the month, and then we'll follow all the releases subsequently after that.
Did you not notice the GeForce Now Thursdays announcement and all of the
Didn't you watch our
advertisements
videos?
around GeForce Now Thursdays? So Thursdays is definitely
They're really
gonna be
embracing
GeForce
the
Now Day,
GFN Thursdays.
which is also not to be confused with xCloud Thursdays or Game Pass Thursdays.
What I actually liked about this month, and I think this is their first month, and you have to say absolutely fair play to them for getting them out there. There has been some teething issues with a couple of games, with the biggest one obviously being, I've just went out from my head, Hitman. I think that was the biggest miss of the month for them. But what I've actually liked about these GeForce updates over the last month is that they have, I think, at least half the titles each on the Thursdays have been bonus titles, 2 titles which we haven't actually expected to come, which is absolutely brilliant as well. I don't mind if it's a mix, but give us some sort of roadmap, and that is absolutely fine in my books.
Yeah, so
And they said that at the start of January as well. They just said, here is everything that has been confirmed, but still expect throughout the month games will still come out where we haven't like 100% agreed it, or publishers haven't chose to opt in yet, so they could still do that at any point. So expect every Thursday to still get a brand new list. But like you said, Hitman was the missed one this month. That should have been well in advance so that people had a chance to plan what platform they were going to buy it on.
Yeah, so we also had issues with, and I've still got issues with the medium, actually. I still don't have ray tracing on the medium, and I'm waiting for support to get back to me. They've confirmed that there's an issue, and I've now had other people in the community also reporting that ray tracing is not working for them, even if they do the restart, which they put out, that even though it's enabled, no founder will get it the first run. They have to restart the game to then get it, which is a bit of an odd thing to tell people initially, or even though they don't, they wait for them to complain and then they'll tell them that they need to restart. So I think GeForce Now has gone great with the roadmap. Here, look at everything that's coming, but we're going to give you extra stuff as well. So look out for GeForce Now Thursday. But then 2 weeks running, we've had issues with release day games. And I think it's that release day game release that they need to figure out now, because we've had the Hitman saga, now we've had the Medium saga. These games should have been tested, ready to go at midnight on the day of release, whereas we're having to wait till 10, 11, 12, 1 PT for these games to appear when they're releasing. And that's my biggest gripe, is that they have global release windows for these games, and for GeForce Now we still have to wait till they put it onto the platform. So why can't they sync up with the release windows? They know it's coming. So I just don't get that. Has anybody got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was getting tore up in the comments about the medium and it didn't go live here for me until after 4 p.m. Friday, well after the day and date release. And the problem with that game is it's not just the issues with GeForce Now. That game in particular has some serious quirky issues on all platforms. The Series X, the S,
Frames per
PC.
second drops are
It's got
insane.
serious problems. I think every gameplay video I made for that, I started the video by saying, here's all the problems, now enjoy the gameplay. Because I didn't want to just put them out and people think, wow, that's running horribly. It's a lot of the issues with the medium are with the medium more than with GeForce Now, but getting those day and dates ironed out where even if we're not getting them at midnight, we've got to get them the day of. And then they finally got the Epic version up, and then we're still waiting for the Steam version, which I went and bought, even though I have Game Pass, because I couldn't play it on GeForce Now without buying it on Steam. So I had to go and purchase it anyways. Just goofy. The RTX thing, I didn't have a problem. I got lucky, but I did get some comments of people that just still cannot get RTX, like you were saying, working at all in the game. I was fortunate that with one restart, my settings stuck and everything's been working, but the game still it needs like some serious patching, kind of like Cyberpunk did when it came out, but it's not as high profile of a game, so it's not getting hit as hard. It is a good game, but I think 1 or 2 patches would just fix the serious issues, frame pacing and otherwise, that it has.
Yes, there was a 14 gig patch yesterday, but I was watching Project Storm run it today at RTX 4K, and it was funny to watch even the 3080 go from 150 frames per second to 60. It's like, there shouldn't be that much of a range drop, and it's just switching an outdoor scene, so it's still the same outdoor scene, it's just a different view of it. And to watch the frames bounce from like 60 to 160, there's obviously major issues with what it's doing there, because the picture looks pretty much exactly the same. So yeah, ray tracing also in that game, I don't miss it. I've played it with and without ray tracing, and I have very hard price to tell a difference, actually, apart from the frames per second.
It's definitely not a showcase game for ray tracing like Control, for sure.
Mark, have you been playing medium or?
I can't really judge yet because I'm only about 20 minutes in. I've already seen in the cutscenes and things exactly what Jerry was talking about at the start of his video, which was like the scene will start and then pieces will just gradually load in quite a choppy, blocky fashion, which it just insults me, because although I don't think I am, I think we've kind of reached this point in gaming where we've all become fidelity snobs. So we've grown to expect these high frame rates and instant load times and everything like that. So part of it was quite insulting to my soul. But other than that, no real. So I haven't done it on GeForce Now. I got the Game Pass version and ran it on Shadow because I wanted to, knowing some of the performance issues, I wanted to kind of hit it with all of the system that I could. So obviously, kind of throwing Shadow Infinite at it. Still got that because, like we said, it's not the hardware; it's the optimization for the game. But outside of that. Only being 20 minutes in, but I'm not really liking the control scheme at the moment. It seems very kind of old school Resident Evil, which is nice and nostalgic for a lot of people. But the game was literally touted as like the first next gen horror game, and it doesn't feel next gen at all yet. Again, 20 minutes in, I'm throwing a lot of accusations out for 20 minutes of testing, but
I've done that 20 minutes like 5 times, so
that's a depressing 20 minutes.
It's a very depressing start to a game that's supposed to be a real showcase of a horror game. It's more depressing than it is horrifying.
So like 5 times you've had to search for the tie clip for the dead dude in the drawer.
And listen to the same depressing story intro, yeah. And get frustrated. Even though I've done the same scenes 5 times, I still walk into a wall or spin around on the spot because the camera's switched. And I should know that it's about to switch by this point, but I still mistime it and end up walking into a wall or back where I came from.
Yeah, and that's it. When I was talking about the control scheme, it's obviously not just like the camera placement, which switches as you move. Like, yeah, that's a whole look and feel. That's maybe just what they were going for. But it's for a next gen title, it's how unnaturally the character moves. It's very much like if you turn, the entire body turns like on the spot. Like your feet will just, you'll swivel on the spot. And it's so weird for a next gen title to have movement in it like that. That just doesn't feel natural. Because I think we've had titles where it basically feels like playing a movie, and this isn't quite there. Is that something they can fix with a patch? There's a tall order. The entire control scheme.
Okay, I'll be naughty here. Ready for me to be a bit naughty? From Geforce Now, Luna, and Stadia. Geforce Now is the only next gen one of them because that's the only one that can play the medium and such like and has ray tracing. Or is my wooden screen is going back in there?
Yeah, yes and no, because I think if it was truly next gen, it would be 4K or at least 1440. So ray tracing at 1920 by 1080, I feel is quite easy. When we've got things like maximum settings, we can look at the 2080. We can run 4K high ray tracing usually. It does struggle a bit on the medium because of the issues with frame pacing, etc. But at 1920 by 1080, I think something like maximum settings, can run pretty much ultra ray tracing quite happily. So it's more of a resolution. I think the Series X gets some flack for some of the games, but designed for Series X running dynamic 30 to 60 frames per second at 4K is more impressive to me than ray tracing at 1920 by 1080 a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was just stirring, and it was. Oh, and with the medium, it's actually running both the two different realms or what way you would call it at the same time. So that's why it's a
that's the big next gen feature is that the old consoles didn't have the power or the RAM especially or the hard drive speed to run the two worlds simultaneously. I did test that. I should do a video. I ran the medium on my old HDD and I ran it on my PCI Express 4.0 and there is an absolutely huge difference. It was unplayable on my hard disk drive. It was the stuttering and the issues were so much worse. So there's definitely something going on with that, but next gen isn't graphics, it isn't controls, it isn't story, it's dual rendering of worlds. That's pretty much what's holding it there.
But the weird thing was that the frame pacing issues weren't in those scenes. They seemed to work quite well. It seemed to be more the full screen normal reality that killed the frames per second.
That's why I was really surprised. I expected to jump into that dual world and then all of a sudden that performance was going to get like exponentially worse. And I was like, wait a minute, it feels smoother running in the dual world than when I was just running around. Very strange, very strange. I don't know, very weird. I'm sure they'll get a lot of that straight though. Anybody else have the audio issue that I had on Shadow and Geforce? I've had comments too of people saying they still can't get the audio to work in the medium.
I had it fine, but I was going to ask Mark, if you reset your shadows so that you can play Game Pass games without the hack, because I'm still using the hack method to play.
I use the hack. I've got the partitioned part of my hard drive, which, what is it? You have to do the NTFS. Yeah.
Okay, because I had somebody comment on one of the videos saying that Shadow fixed it, but they removed it from the FAQ. But basically the fix is to reset it back to factory default settings. So I've emailed support to see if that is the fix. But at the moment, I'm still using the hack because at least I know that works.
Interesting. No, I just partitioned. I think it's like 150 gigs or something off on the because obviously it came with a terabyte. So, yeah, just 150 gigs. It's easier to just throw that away, put it to the side, and then for Game Pass, I only install like 1 or 2 games at a time. So
only the bigger than the standard boost hard drive. Okay, so Geforce Now has been struggling a bit getting these games on board recently, and Stadia hasn't. That is a big plus that Stadia, when it puts out those release games, they are available day and date, if not on exact release window. So I think the cloud is definitely hotting up. However, Game Pass, we kind of give it a bit of a pass, I suppose, but they have been very steady in giving the roadmap of what's coming, and it seems to be that they are announcing their xCloud titles a good 2 weeks in advance at the moment. I don't know if anybody else has been noticing that, but they have been dropping those games in on Thursdays, but at the beginning and kind of mid-month they announce these are all the games that are coming to Game Pass, Cloud, everything. And it just kind of seems to fall by the wayside. But I think it seems like Geforce now are looking at taking that approach, but trying to give the whole month. And obviously, they are all in competition, so it's going to be an interesting month. I think January's been quite a slow month with everybody trying to find their feet at the moment. So, what do you think? Do you think February is going to be up the ante from all of them?
I'll go first then, since everybody's talking at once. There, I'm going to say yes. I think we're going to see things heat up, but I'm expecting March, April to be the real tipping point, because I think that's when Amazon's going to be coming out swinging with New World, which we're probably coming on to Amazon later on the show. Would that be right? Yes. So I'll keep my powder dry with that part. I think that we're going to see a lot of movement then. And I'm hoping that the COVID situation hasn't actually scuppered this big thing, because I'm not sure if anybody's seen the news earlier in the week that AMD are expecting that the PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series X's to be supply constraint for the first half of the year. We do know that the Series X hardware is going into xCloud, so I'm hoping that that's not going to be affected, but I think it will be. But I'm hoping March, April time, I'm thinking there's going to be something around then.
Is everybody so cutty?
No, I actually think February's going to be another slow month. With all these delays, they've been getting pushed back, and I think they're going to get pushed back further, all these big games. There's only actually one game that I actually cared about in February. I was hoping that we might actually get a Dirt 5 release date, but it's all been quiet on that front as well, so I don't think it's coming anytime soon, and I don't think the games that I'm looking at for cloud gaming, I think I'm literally going to skip a month.
So for February, I think there's a sleeper game coming out, which I thought that you might have eyes on. I can't remember the name of it right now, so I'm going to have a look.
Because like I said, with Geforce now not actually releasing information about maybe if they're going to get Persona 5 Strikers, I might actually just jump back to Switch or PS4 and play it there. So that's the big game that I actually want to play in February.
When I was talking about it's going to be a more exciting month, I think we'll maybe just get some more announcements. I'm not expecting a whole raft of games.
Oh yeah, I welcome that. If February you can bring the news and just announce a roadmap, I'll be really happy with that. But at the moment, I think they're going to wait for big events to come out.
Yeah, so February, I'm hoping to see, because I think obviously from January onwards, that's when Geforce now started doing their more roadmap announcement for this is what's coming for the month. I think we're starting to see that with or Game Pass now. So I'm hoping that's something that, as you said, they kind of, they'll end up in competition with each other. Like, oh, that's a really good way of doing comms and people really like that. So we need to be doing that as well. And that's what I want everyone to do, because that allows for like the most amount of planning. And then Geforce now kind of proves that you can still do that and give your roadmap and then still have surprises like during the week or just like drops, which everyone's like, okay, cool. In terms of the AMD thing, just quickly, what Duncan was touching on, I would hope that because Microsoft have been talking about the Blade upgrades to Series X hardware for so long now, because they announced that it's got to be like partway through last year. I can't remember when they first talked about it, but so long ago, to make that comms worthy. Obviously, they can kind of foresee the COVID stuff and all of the supply issues. You would have hoped that they would have, because to update those server blades and all of their different data centers is a tall order. It's no small job. So you've got to hope that they have got like a good head start on that won't be impacted. That's just me being optimistic.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a huge fear that almost all cloud gaming, because of the pandemic we've been dealing with, is going to wind up 6 months to a year behind what every company wanted to be. as we go. So like the xCloud might not get where it needed to be. Stadia may delay some of their upgrades. Geforce now won't comment too much on 1440p 4K RTX 3000, that type of stuff yet. And watching the constraints on consoles, GPUs, CPUs, not being able to get stuff at launch like I normally would, I'm really concerned that cloud gaming is going to fall behind 6 months to a year due to a lot of these supply things, and everyone's going to be trying to catch up. So they're going to have to focus more and more on the content while they're trying to catch up on the hardware side.
Yeah, because it's supply, but I literally think it's physically. I don't think people, because of the constraints, I don't think people are allowed to actually access the data centers and work in those small spaces to upgrade the server blades. The amount of people you would usually have in there to do that, you need more than one dude with a mask on.
Yeah. The factories that make the parts and the data centers where you're, installing everything, it just all trickles down to a big, I still think 6 months to a year delay and just a lot of stuff, even though none of us want to see that.
So yeah, tech-wise, last year we saw a huge leap, right, across the board in technology for gaming. So it all kind of got a bit halted because of the coronavirus issue, but I think not everybody was quite so prepared for the leap that we had last year. And we all expected big things from the next gen consoles. Nobody could have predicted, really, apart from Nvidia, obviously, the power of the 30 series coming for PCs. So I think games weren't ready. And I don't think the games are going to be ready for some time, judging by what we're seeing so far, and especially with the delays. So hopefully it gives cloud the time to breathe and to catch up, because Google owns all of its infrastructure, Nvidia owns all of its own infrastructure, Xbox owns all of its own infrastructure, Amazon, they've got everything ready to go. They've got all the stuff in place, but it does feel like they're still holding back because they're waiting for something. And it may be that they're waiting for consumers, because a lot of consumers are probably being a lot more reserved now as well, because they're stuck indoors, they might be able to play games more, but also they're not maybe getting as much money, they're not being as sociable. So maybe a lot more people are being a bit more tight with their purchases. I know we're quite frivolous because we want to cover content and stuff, so I don't think we're normal consumers in that kind.
Well, again, are the games 6 to 12 months behind as well? Because we're already seeing game delays because of developers working from home, and those kind of working, like going from somebody who worked in an office where it was so easy to have somebody sat next to you or have teams of people and you just walk over and have a look and you solve problems there and there on the spot. And that's what they're kind of missing. So that's why games are being delayed at the moment. You said like the games now need to catch up to the hardware. Are the games going to take longer to catch up because we don't have the same kind of working conditions where they would have, where they could have done that?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case for a while. I think that's why we're seeing such big surges in things like Among Us and Rust and those games that have been around a while already, that people are probably just picking back up again and jumping back into all those free-to-play titles.
That's why I've gone back to Star Wars: The Old Republic, 2013. That came out.
That's why Titanfall 2 still got loads of players. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting time, and I think one of those things that kind of segues into that, as we're saying, with the leap in technology, is Geforce now has gone into the browser now. So we now have Stadia and Geforce now. We've also got Boosteroid in browsers. I know Luna's trying to go that way. I think they've half got a browser working. I haven't got access to that, so Jerry, you'd have to weigh in there.
Yeah, Luna. I'm able to play Luna both on the app and in one of the browsers. I don't remember if it worked in Mozilla or if it was Chrome, but I can play in either the browser or the app.
So, what are your thoughts on everybody moving towards playing the browser versus dedicated apps?
I personally like dedicated apps because I think that they can. Shadow is what kind of got me into that, because out of all the cloud PCs I've tested, Shadow has that native app. And say what you will about Shadow, that thing works great. And I like the GeForce Now native app better than browser. I've played in both. I just, for me, is a little bit nicer, and I think they can do more with those. However, with that said, tons of people seem to want to play in browser. They want it to be easy to jump in browser. They don't worry about the app or whatever the case may be. And I get those comments all the time. The app is great. Can you do the browser? Can you do the browser? Can you do the browser? And I think back before GeForce Now went to browser, me and you did those videos how to get it to work in Edge and in Chrome, the little workaround. Those videos blew up, 20K views, 30K views. I think I'm up to like 58K views on one of those old videos of how to run GeForce Now on a browser. I still get comments on it, and I comment back saying, "Oh, it's official now. You could just go play," And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know." And for me, I prefer the apps, but I do see that a ton of people like to access these through the browser. So having
so here we have the difference of opinion because I prefer the browser. At least for what I've seen so far with GeForce Now, I completely agree on the Shadow side. It's their own proprietary software, and it is tuned specifically to what you need to do on Shadow. It's not just streaming individual titles. It's obviously the entire thing. But GeForce Now, and we've talked about this before, I cannot get that app to run smoothly, and I have tested absolutely everything, all of the bandwidth settings, all of the different data centers, everything. And even though it's on a local PC, which is wired with 350 down, it says that I've got a spotty connection, and it just, it's not a great performance through the app. Yeah. And that's why when GeForce Now first went to iOS through the browser, I wasn't expecting much. And when that came out and we talked about it in this podcast, I was like, oh, I actually had an amazing experience with that. And I was super surprised because it was running better over Wi-Fi on an iPad than I could get to my wired PC. And I've found the exact same through the testing over the last couple of days with it through Chrome. Like, it's so far it's come up twice that I had a spotty connection, and all it did was I went to press the pause menu, and it took like 2 seconds to get there instead of straight away because it got stuck, and then it went there. But other than that, input latency has been amazing through the browser, which I didn't really expect. Always expect kind of like a layer in between, something that's gonna, just delay that a small amount, but no, that's all been fine. I haven't had like screen tearing or lag or anything. So just super impressed with it through the browser at the moment. In terms of accessing it, yes, I think it's easier to get into it. And I think the main thing that probably is pushing the browser access is people want to play games at work and at school. And if they haven't blocked the play.geforcenow.com, like, it's just the website. If they don't know about it yet, it's fast moving technology. If you're not in this area, then they don't know to block that site until they suddenly see that half their workforce is on this one website, and how much data they're probably using. But that, I think that's probably the major push. And correct me if this was just my speculation, but once it runs in Chrome, you can then play GeForce Now without sideloading or without installing apps on any device that runs a Chrome browser, right? As long as you can connect your controller to it. So does that open it up to things like the Fire Stick?
Quite possibly, because there are workarounds. Well, that was sideloading before, and we sideloaded GeForce Now app on there. So I don't think Fire runs full Chrome, and I think that's the problem.
Gotcha.
Chrome WebOS.
Yeah, some of the media boxes don't run like the full-blown browser version, and it just will not connect. Like, it won't recognize, it won't get you there. So sideloading the app does wind up being like the only way. And Mark's difference of opinion there hits on the exact thing that bothers me about cloud gaming. It's one of the reasons why we need choice. We need browser, we need app, we need people to be able to access these services, see what works better for them, because as we know, each person, each house gets a different experience. But it's also frustrating because growing up, like me, if I was at a friend's house and he's playing a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, whatever, I can go buy that console, go hook it up, and get the identical experience that he was getting, play that game. And with cloud, you can't be watching someone play it and go get the identical experience all the time. It's workarounds, and does this browser work better? Does this app work better? And it's one of the things I want to see cloud gaming get better at, because it gets frustrating when people can't get the same kind of experience. And you see it in comments too. It works great for me. Oh, you suck. It doesn't work for me. Oh no, it worked great for me. And people go back and forth because cloud's just not a consistent experience yet.
Yeah, that's the biggest positive and the biggest negative about cloud gaming is you can just play it anywhere, runs on anything, but performance varies from person to person and day by day. It all just depends on such a number of things. For me, it's usually 9 times out of 10, if not higher, it's absolutely flawless. But when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work.
Yeah, but we have
I
the
think-
same with consoles, don't we? Sorry, we have the same with consoles because you've got restrictions on how your friend could be using a better HDMI cable, could have a better refreshed monitor or telly, better high color gamut. So I guess people are still restricted on the likes of consoles compared to your friends, depending on the hardware they got. And I was going to quickly just say, I prefer browsers going forward because I don't want to run into the issue again where a company messes up and breaches the terms of service on the storefronts again and it gets taken down. So I just want it all to be browser unless you buy a specific piece of hardware that's, certified for all that.
So that fits for mobile, but for PC, for Mac, browser varies, and then you're at the mercy of somebody like Google. They might put out a patch that then screws over one of the codecs, and then all your systems are down, right? Whereas with at least the dedicated apps, that that's what that app's designed for. Okay, yeah, they might still screw it up, but there's a less likely chance. Also with browser, how many plugins do you have in your Chrome browser? Any one of those could screw something up for you. And also, I've had quite a good experience with both browser and the desktop apps, but I use the desktop apps quite a lot because it has all the features. Like in the browser version of Geforce now, for example, you've got no chance of recording or doing screenshots or seeing what rig you're playing on. So you're just a complete guess. We want to check, are we running a 2080C or a D so that we know that we're getting the best experience, and I know that I can put my settings up to high, or have I got a 1080C and I'm running on the seat of my pants on the medium settings here. So I think some of those things, yeah, it makes it so much easier, but I do fear that we're going to miss out on loads of those features going forwards, and some of those USPs. I think if you're just running in the browser, and actually, this is one point that really winds me up, is Stadia in the browser, for me, sucks in comparison to the Chromecast Ultra. And I just don't get it. I really don't get it because Boosteroid and GeForce Now in the browser look so much better. And why? Why does it look better? It should be the same, if not a better stream. It's Chrome, it's Google tech. Why does Google not look better in the browser than the other systems running in the browser? I just don't understand it. I don't know if you guys have come across this or if you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, I do run into it on some games. We were kind of touching on this before we started the show about how my frustration with Madden, because there's so many videos out and there's so many comments saying this game runs so great at 4K 60. Well, I played it in the browser and that game is not running 60 FPS. It's streaming 60, but the game isn't running 60. I mean, as soon as they pan across the players, it's just a 30 FPS mess. But they're all saying, no, you have to be on the CCU to get that experience. Okay, there again, inconsistency. And Stadia doesn't say go get a CCU. They say play anywhere, play in the browser, play on your phone, play here. And again, consistency of experience. It shouldn't have to have that. So yeah, if I plug in my CCU, I'll probably get a nicer image, a nicer experience. I can get 4K HDR. I can get all that kind of stuff working really well, better than the browser. But it's very frustrating. I don't understand most of it, why it's that way. I saw your video of like get a crisper image. So you're going to run 1080p, but you're going to force the 4K. That's nice. It does help crisp up, but there again, why should people have to get into a service like Stadia and do workarounds? We're all nerds. We're going to do workarounds. We're going to have fun. But the average consumer should never have to do a single workaround or do anything to get that product to work right. And that's where my frustration gets to. Don't tell me I have to go get on the CCU to get the best experience. It shouldn't be that way.
I feel the same with GeForce Now when people go, oh yeah, go and play this game on GeForce Now. It's got upscale graphics. And I go, oh, what has it? And you go, yeah, when you play on the Shield TV. So it's exactly the same for me. Like I haven't got the Shield TV. I don't want to buy that hardware.
But if you're playing at 1080, GeForce Now wins on PC.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a larger monitor. But even then, yeah, I force 4K. I've got a 1440 monitor. I force 4K on Stadia, or 2K minimum, just to make sure that I'm getting that. But even if I force 4K on a 1440 monitor, it still looks better on my 4K TV on the Chromecast Ultra than it does on my PC.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't make any sense, because a 4K compressed down to 1440 image should look far better than a native 4K image.
And the TV's not doing no upscaling or processing or, not like that.
It's just running game mode exactly from the Chromecast Ultra. And I see it on Stadia massively. Now, the Shield TV Pro, you can tell it's an AI upscaled image if you look, But if I run it on my 1080 monitor, it looks pin sharp. I get ray tracing, I get 60 frames per second, it looks amazing. If I put it in Chrome browser, it looks pretty much the same. If I put Stadia on my 1080p monitor without forcing 4K, it looks horrible. And I can't play it anymore. I have to force a higher resolution. Otherwise, I just want to cry. I don't understand how it can look that bad in a browser.
See, with my hardware that I can play the next-gen consoles or Stadia. It looks gorgeous on my telly, but if I play the Switch, it looks oversaturated. So I wonder if it's the TV or the panels we're using.
Well, the TVs are always more forgiving, because I record the Chromecast Ultra footage and I come and watch it on my 440 monitor and think, that doesn't look the same. It looks much worse on my monitor than it does on the Chromecast. And when you watch it back on your phone, obviously it's compressed down, you've got that nice smoothing effect again. It looks better. So I think PC monitors are just too high a resolution for cloud in general, because that's what they're designed for. They're designed for pin sharp, accurate, everything. TVs have always had smoothing effects. They've always had nice glossy versions of everything, because broadcast TV was never high compression. Even HD isn't really high compression broadcast. So I think TVs have always been more forgiving. And Jerry, I think, actually has his Series X plugged into his monitor. We'll probably be able to say a bit more to that.
Yeah, my TV can do 1440p 120 hertz, but not 4K, because it is a 2018 TV, but it can do FreeSync. It's variable refresh rate, 1440p 120. I can plug my Series X into that, run it that way, and then I can plug it into my 1440p monitor and run one. Same kind of thing. It runs so much smoother and crisper on my gaming monitor than it does on the TV, and even though the TV is capable. I do believe probably a lot of people using the CCU don't use game mode, or even if they do, their TV may have some upscaling that they don't realize. You can't disable upscaling in a lot of the 4K TVs. It's smart. It does its own thing. It processes the image its own way. So yeah, like Holtz is saying, depending on the hardware, being the TV, the 4K TV you're using, your CCU could look totally different from someone else's as well, depending on what it happens to be doing. The CCU on my TV, this 4K TV, that's a Samsung Q8FN, looks fantastic, but if I plug the CCU and I record it like you're talking about, and then I go back and play that back, it does not look anything like it did, as good as it did on my TV. So there's definitely a lot to that, like what display you're using and that type of thing.
Yeah, see, for me, I can't have game modes on. Every time I turn game mode on my C9, and what happens is I lose too much color and brightness. I might actually get better playability, but I lose color and brightness, so I was just turn it off.
And I lose all my local dimming, so banding is just ridiculous. As soon as I turn game mode off, I just have a perfect picture again. It takes away too much of what the TV's doing to make it look like a good TV.
How about you, Mark? Do you have much experience with the Chromecast Ultra, or just the TV difference?
No, I haven't done. Well, my TV is actually, how old is it? So it's a Sony 4K, but it's probably got bare minimum of all of the kind of AI upscaling stuff. But the Chromecast Ultra, I don't really use for Stadia, honestly. Just for more, I don't know, for more of a convenience thing. It's easier whenever I want to play Stadia, it's easier for me to, well, I'm already at the PC and this is where I use Shadow and this is where my local stuff is and I'm kind of here anyway, to jump into the browser. So I've kind of got used to the browser experience, although I 100% agree that the browser playing those games on a PC monitor, I know they're supposed to look better, even without jumping between the Chromecast Ultra and this. I know in my mind what it's supposed to look like, and I know that it's not quite right. But yeah, I think it's just a convenience thing for me having to. Well, one, I'm blind, so even though the TV's there and the sofa is only over there, I would have to like sit in this chair and roll up to the TV to be able to see it. So, and that probably makes things seem less crisp than they're supposed to anyway, the fact that I'm blind. But yeah, just for convenience, it's browser for me.
But I wondered how many people, because on so many TVs, only like maybe one HDMI port might actually have all the features and protocols. So maybe they've got the Chromecast and the wrong HDMI that supports proper high dynamic range, deep colours.
True. The Chromecast was the last thing I added to my TV, so that automatically means it's in like HDMI 4.
Yeah, so maybe if you switch it to HDMI 1, people will go, oh yeah, I've got all the HDR, full colour gamut and all that.
Yeah, I think
so people should just check the
spend
telly.
a fortune on your TVs. You're not going to have more than 2 HDMI anyway. So I think most normal TVs only come with a couple of HDMI, and that's, I think, an issue for people who want smart tech, because everything seems to want a HDMI connection these days. I've got 4 and it's not enough.
I've got 4 and a 4 in adapter as well. That's 8.
Roll on the web TV apps.
That's exactly what I want. Exactly what I want. Bring the apps to native.
So do you think that that's where they're heading? Because Geforce now has obviously moved to the browser, and Stadia was already there. Luna's there. And do you think because of this web TV or web apps announcement coming to TVs that this is why they're all pushing that way?
I think it's a long-term game for them. I don't think this web TV is going to be a massive, massive thing. It's going to take about 4 or 5 years, because how often do you update your TV? It says the person who's updated his TV twice in the last couple of years, but we won't go there. But yeah, you don't really upgrade your TV every year. You update it every couple of years, and it's going to be the trickle-down effect. It's going to take a wee while for it to go, but I think that's where we're going with the web apps now, because like your TV's bound to have Netflix if you've bought it in the last 3 or 4 years, and that's just the way it's going to be for for Stadia, for Geforce Now, for xCloud. It's all going to be built in. HDMIs are eventually going to be a thing of the past. Eventually, many years down the line.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, for people like us, obviously, we're waiting for it to go native apps on the TV. But other than that, like you said, is it more of a catch-all that eventually people will get these new TVs and like, oh, what does this new TV do that my old one didn't? So let's have a look through these apps. And then they're going to see, there's a Stadia app, there's a GeForce Now app, something like that. Let's have a look at these. There's a new customer. So it is more of a catch-all. But like you said, it's going to take a while to get there.
But isn't that something that they've overlooked for this? And this is the thing that I found the most amusing, really, is how are they going to play it?
I'm going to be naughty here and say this is why you need to be looking out for Apple, because that's one of their requirements for their arcade games, is you can play it with the Apple remote. So yeah, there's lots of thinking going on there, but yes, you're right with that. You're going to have the TVs are going to have Bluetooth or something for your.
No, the TV is going to have to come with a controller.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before. It has to, even if it's like not the greatest controller, because a lot of people aren't going to want to have to order a controller or wait. They're going to see cloud gaming on their TV and want to try it today, not 2 days from now when a controller gets there.
It's exactly my point. It's going to go, oh, look, the Stadia app. Oh, I need a controller or a keyboard or
yeah, I was saying this last week. I hope that it actually comes with a redemption controller. I don't want the controller in the box, because I think a lot of people will be scared. They go, okay, I want to buy this TV because I love watching Netflix and cinema movies and stuff like that. And once they see the gaming logos, I think they'll get off-put. So what I'd rather them have is, say, when you load up this app, you open the Stadia app or GeForce Now, and then you redeem a free controller off Google or off Luna, off that. so it doesn't put people off that they're buying a TV because they're a bit worried that they're not gamers.
Well, I think just the widest demographic is going to be people with pre-existing Xbox or PlayStation. So at a minimum, if TVs connect to those through Bluetooth and those native apps support those controllers, then most of the time they should be okay, and people not having to order dedicated hardware for it to work. So just supporting those controllers, no matter what iteration of them come out, just keep adding, kind of like what Shadow's just done to get or Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 controllers. Like, new controllers come out, support them as soon as possible so that people can just use what they have, and it just encourages them to use it.
Well, what I want to see with the telly is if they bring the native apps, I want more USB cables, USB ports on the TV, so I can power up, keyboards, mouse, charge me controller, just so I can hook them up on the side of my TV, because I don't want them plugged to the mains anymore. If I don't have to have HDMI cables anymore, I just want everything just to be nicely tucked behind the TV.
It's going to be an interesting one, but I do like the fact that they're going to browser, and at least it opens up more people being able to use it. But like I said, and as Jerry said, consistency is a huge problem right now. We see the comments, not just on a specific platform, but we see, we've got console cloud wars, and in fact, constantly people saying, GeForce Now is better, Stadia runs like rubbish for me, and then you got, Stadia runs like perfect for me, and GeForce Now won't run at all. And there's quite an overlap of the countries for both Stadia and GeForce Now. So for it to be so inconsistent just between those two, and then we've got the whole Luna saga. So let's touch on.
Can I just touch on the wars just before you go on there? Unfortunately, last year, I would say the first half of last year, the Stadia community and the GeForce Now community were really happy coexisting, and now there has a lot of fanboy mentality has kicked in, and Stadia is the best, GeForce Now is the best. We don't have many Luna is the best at the moment, but I think we're going to get them later this year when that kicks off, or not kick off. Or there's no xCloud is the best. Actually, there is an xCloud is the best. All the Xbox fans, so that's probably got the biggest market share of people going. But yeah, unfortunately, we're getting a lot of tribalism at this moment in time, which I find completely ironic, because cloud is the perfect opportunity to have no tribalism, because you can just flip between them all. You should not really have a cloud. You should be a tribalist for a cloud company, because you could. There's no restrictions. So I'm just going back to your point there.
I can actually see people saying that against the TVs. Oh, why would I want to play on a TV? It doesn't have a high refresh rate. Oh, why play on TVs with native apps? Because if I lose my panel, I'll lose access to all my apps instead of unplugging a piece of hardware and moving to another device. I can start to see people saying that, taking it out of perspective.
Yeah, I agree with the tribalism, because we even get it here, as Holt said. We got comments saying that we flip-flop between platforms. It's like, no, we use all platforms, because there isn't one all-seeing, all-perfect platform. There's not one all-seeing, all-dancing console. Sorry. Most true gamers will have an Xbox and a PlayStation and a PC, because they want to play the best of each platform. There's no one for all. And cloud is no different. You can't play everything on Stadia, you can't play everything on GeForce Now. You certainly can't play everything on Luna or xCloud. So you do need to be able to mix and match. And the fact, and that brings me back to the inconsistency problem, is because people aren't getting that consistency, they feel that they can't play on Stadia because it's rubbish for them. Whereas, people like us, where we can play on Stadia and GeForce Now, we've got that choice, and that choice will be a big thing, I think, towards that tribalism. So let's say about Luna. Luna is really annoying me on Twitter at the moment, and I've been trolling them for quite some time, because they keep putting out these wonderful announcements of, hey, more invites are going out. But they keep failing to mention that invites are only going out to the US. So every time I see this tweet, I think, yeah, let's go try. Oh yeah, I still can't get. So I think Luna coming out into Europe needs to happen soon, and it's really annoying me. Same with the Ubisoft Plus, it being US only. I don't know why. No, if the US is their biggest current market, it's because they're the only ones that can play it. So I think they are neglecting Europe and the rest of the world, who are itching to try these services, and also Ubisoft Plus. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Glad I'm not the only one who was annoyed by their Twitter, because I've got notifications turned on for like most of the main platforms, so my phone goes off every time they do a tweet, and like 9 times out of 10 it's just a purple heart. Like, that doesn't help get it in Europe.
Well, I hope that when they actually release it in America, we don't actually get it second and then actually go, oh, well, you're in the beta stage now because you're a bigger block, Europe, and America will have the full service, but you have to try the beta until we actually sort of do everything with your data centers. I don't want that.
For me, what is going to go on here? I think we are getting it soon. I think we're going to be getting it before New World launches, which is a major thing, because we're meant to be talking about is Luna dead on arrival, and I'm saying no because of New World, because I think that is going to be, it's going to draw people in. That is a game which I would be scared to know how much money has been pumped into that game, because I'm not sure if anybody has seen the report about Amazon and their gaming exploits over the last number of years. Yeah.
Article.
Yeah, I would also bring up Aaron Hoffman-John's tweet to follow up on that, because I think that is very telling from the Stadia point of view as well. You can have all the money in the world, all the talent, but that doesn't mean you're going to make a great game. And I think people, it goes for Amazon, it goes for Stadia, it goes for Xbox, it goes for absolutely every single platform out there. So this isn't picking on anybody. It takes years to get a game studio up and running. And realistically, it took PlayStation to the PlayStation 3 for their studios to really start pushing out the quality games. Xbox, I think, are in the PlayStation 3 sort of age now, where their games are pretty good, but they're just not killer games as yet. So I think patience is required there. But for me, Luna, I think this is going to be a breakout year for Luna eventually when they start pushing this out. And New World is going to be key to that. And again, I don't think people follow Luna from behind the scenes in Amazon Games. They have been making moves, and they are constantly hiring people, looking more people to come in and help them both in the hardware and the infrastructure side and the game making side. I don't want to make fun of Stadia, because it feels like I'm always saying stuff. Stadia are just hiring for the infrastructure side. They're not hiring for the game making side at this moment in time. It's just really, really interesting what to see. But yeah, Luna needs to get out from the US ASAP so we all can experience it.
And Amazon Game Studios has the potential to be kind of one of these big first party ones for something like Luna. It's unfortunate their track record isn't great. They've had like cancelled games, they've had games that have come out that have actually unreleased, which is almost unheard of. But they've still got their own, proprietary game engine, Lumberyard, which is impressive. They've got New World, and they've also got the dedicated rights to the next Lord of the Rings game, which seems to be coming along quicker than any of us thought. Actually, it's still not till 2022, 23, I think, but I think it's still quicker than any of us thought. So they've got feet on the ground and manpower developing these kind of games. So I think New World for me is going to be kind of like an indication of how well they can do going forward, and especially on how well it does drawing attention to something like Luna.
So I'll come back to New World. So just so that people know what we're referencing is this Bloomberg article basically saying that Amazon are great at everything except making games. And they've piled, I think it's 500 billion into their game studios and
Yep.
all gaming technology, to, as Mark said, pull Crucible from not only from going live but from development. They just killed it. So it's a shame. I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't great, but for them to follow it up a couple of months later with the New World open beta and those that pre-ordered, like myself, it needed a lot of work. It's a huge game, to be fair, and Lumberyard is not a small engine either. Obviously, they've spent a lot of time and money on all their technology. If you go and look at the Amazon Game Studios website, you'll see that there's quite a few sections of their kind of game development software that's all proprietary to them. So it makes complete sense for them to build that into Luna, to offload I think it was an 80 gig download just for the New World beta. So there's obviously going to be quite a lot of file size stuff that they're going to want to chuck into the cloud to make that more appealing. But being in US only is just killing them, I think, because Amazon is probably one of the biggest global companies out there, alongside Apple and Google. So for them to be restricting their access so much at the moment is really killing them, I think. Even though they've got all the Ubisoft Plus stuff, it's not going down very well. And Amazon don't seem to be making the waves that I think that they hoped for, because every time I hear of people playing on Luna, they go, it's just okay. It's not as powerful as Geforce now. It's not as smooth as Stadia. Meh. So I think the only one here that's really had a good experience with Luna is Jerry. So what do you feel?
Luna has its own consistency problems inside its own service. Before it launched, we were talking about Luna having the PC versions of games very much like GeForce Now. That is true for some games. Other ones feel like Stadia. They're like a brought over console version. There's no settings. There's nothing you can do with the game. Those games run really well. The video I put up on Control, like you can play that game, and I think I put a couple hours and it never stuttered. Like it never had a problem. It was fantastic. And then you jump over to something like Assassin's Creed Valhalla from the Ubisoft channel, and it stutter the whole time, no matter what your settings are, no matter what your internet is, and gave me a whole bunch of trouble. And every game that runs the full PC version where I can do the settings like GeForce Now gives me that problem on Luna. All the games that like Grid and Control and other ones that are in the Luna channel that feel more like port overs or console overs or Stadia type game, they just run really well. So there's a big difference there with that. But I always say I'm pretty forgiving in beta, because I always thought Stadia should have done something similar. So as much bashing as we've done on Stadia because they came out as a full service when they launched, I'm giving Luna the lead way because I feel like they're taking their time to kind of bake this and get it more ready to go. And I don't think Holtz will have to worry when it expands. I don't think you're going to get the cut down beta or the cut down service. I think they will roll out the service as is for everywhere as it goes. I still think Prime will get more value because they'll add the Luna channel to Prime eventually. I think that will wind up happening, and then you'll buy the other channels you want. I still like the business model better than Stadia. Stadia gets confusing for people. I grew up to where people were against digital. I mean, when Netflix was first going to digital, when Xbox was like the whole DRM, like the whole digital, everybody was like, "I'll never, I'm always buying physical." Now I don't have a single friend or family member that hardly buys anything physical. It's all digital. They subscribe to Netflix, Disney Plus, they watch The Mandalorian, cancel Disney Plus, go get CBS Access, watch Picard, cancel that, and they jump around. We're going to be doing that with gaming. It's going to be happening. Duncan said, not right now, but give it a year or two. We're heading that way. The people that are bucking and saying, no, I'll never do that. Yes, you will. Eventually, you're going to Netflix it. You're going to Disney Plus it. You're going to jump from subscription to subscription and play the games you want at that time. And you probably won't beat 90% of them. You'll just experience a bunch of them. How many of us have jumped on Netflix, started a show, didn't like it, jumped to the next one, didn't like it, jumped to the next one. Oh, I like this. I watch all this. You're going to do that with gaming. You're going to play them all. You're going to try them all, but you're only going to play through a few of them. But it's not going to cost you a fortune like it used to. You're not going to go dump $60 and be like, oh, that game sucks, and you never touch it again. I did it with Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah, so I'm with you, Mark. I hate that game. I spent $200 and some on that game, and I put a couple hours. I can't touch it. I hate it. Absolutely can't stand it. But I put a ton of money in it. If I could have just jumped on and played it somewhere on a subscription, I would have never wasted all that money. Bought my friends copies. We were going to play it for years. This is going to be so good, and we all hated it. So I really like that, and I think Luna, given the time, is going to be a force to contend with in cloud. But you can't judge it now for what it's going to be by the end of this year, by the end of next year, and so on. So I'm really still excited to see where they're going. They've got a ways to go, the consistency issues and stuff like that, but I think they have a ton of potential.
Do you play? Go on.
I don't. I've talked probably too much, but that is one of the reasons why I'm absolutely going to love the sub model, because you're going to jump about. And I think people are going, oh, the sub model is not what I want. I want to buy my games. You will still be able to buy your games. It is going to be, you can still buy your games, or you can still buy your movies. I buy movies on Apple TV, but I'm still subscribed to all that. You will still be able to buy them. However, what I really love about the subscription model, it just levels the playing field for everybody. Everybody will be able to experience games. What I am extremely excited about is this is going to allow developers to get even more creative and take bigger risks, because they know they're going to get their money back, or some of their money back, because it's going to be part of a subscription service. So they can take risks, and we're going to get games which we would never think would be possible before, games going off in completely wild and wacky sort of places. It is going to open up the landscape completely, and I'm just really excited to see where it's going to go. And people are going to jump about and play games that they would have never done, because they could just jump in and play. It is just, this is why I love cloud gaming, because you'll be able to just jump and play and go on to everything.
See, I'm worried about subscriptions, because what I've seen in the media of late is a lot of people are happy to pay a certain set price. So they love Netflix, they love Disney, they love Game Pass. When you hear news that Netflix, Disney and Game Pass is going to go up, everyone goes, oh no, you can't change that subscription price. And the companies are going, yeah, well, we have to make money, or we're putting high profit money into development. But people don't actually like that. And when they actually up the price a little bit, people go, that's it, I'm never going to subscribe again. So I'm a bit worried going forward if that's how the cloud gamers are going to start reacting to subscriptions.
But the thing is, the prices go up because the content is better. Netflix just hit 400 million subscribers.
But that's in the eye of the beholder, because a lot of people, why are they complaining that Netflix is going up if Netflix is such a value?
If when a Stadia Pro goes up, everybody's going to complain. If something goes up 50p, you're going to complain. It is just the nature of everything. The thing is, there is tipping points. There is a magic point where it just gets too much, and I don't think we're there yet for most of the subscription services. It's getting close, but we're not there yet. I think we have to worry when there's going to be so many, when Apple gets its gear going as well, because I'm not sure if anybody has seen, I'm getting money back on Apple TV at the moment, because they're doing that. Yeah, so
I'm wondering if that still works, because I've got the one subscription, whether they're still going to refund it. So that'll be interesting now.
Yeah, but the subscription models are the future, and we're going to see casualties along the way because of it.
Yeah, so sticking with the Luna front, I think all eyes are going to be on New World when and if that releases. They pushed it back pretty much a year, so it better come out pretty polished, because I pre-ordered that game in June, July for its August release. That never happened. So I really want to see that game, but I would like to play it on Luna. But if Luna doesn't give me 1440p, then I'm not going to want to play it on Luna, because I've paid all that money to play this gorgeous game. I'm not going to want an upscale 1080 image. So I will have to find the 80 gig or whatever hard drive space is available to do that. But
I wonder how much more power they actually push into this game, the more they're actually going to start saying, well, now this game or this service is not compatible with first gen Fire Sticks, second gen Fire Sticks. You need to go out now and at least buy the new one.
Well, they've already said that, haven't they? That it needs to be a second or third gen Fire TV.
Okay, well, even if add another year, they actually say now it's not a third gen, you have to have a fourth. They move the narrative every time the game gets delayed.
But that goes back to Stadia as well, and all the cloud services. I just don't. This is why I don't like the words you'll never have a hardware upgrade again. I think hardware upgrades are inevitable for most things, even if it's not a wee stick into your TV. You might have to get a new TV or something because it's a new app. There's going to be something. There's always going to be a hardware upgrade of some sort coming.
It's just that price entry point, isn't it? So just round off on the Luna side, Jerry, have you played Rainbow Six Siege on Luna since that dropped?
Not yet. It's one of the next Luna videos I have coming up. I plan on diving into that when I get done this stuff I'm doing this weekend. But yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out next week. I got that on the list. I don't know if I'm going to compare it to anything yet, but I'm definitely going to be running it there, along with a couple of other games that I've experienced on Luna, comparing Grid to Stadia and things like that. The games that are running a bit better. But I'm concerned about Rainbow because I haven't tried it yet, and it is the Ubisoft channel. And I've had trouble with those games so far, so I got to see what happens when I load that up, but I haven't tried it yet.
So Ace did review it. We have got a video on the channel, and he was really impressed with it. And we've seen a lot of comments of people being really impressed with Rainbow Six Siege, that it's crossplay with PC, which
Yes.
obviously it needed to be.
It needs to be. It would have to be to have a play. And I did see that video, and it did look good in the video. But again, as we talk about consistency, I want to see what happens because he's over toward West Coast. I'm here on East Coast. Who knows? So I want to see what happens when I try that out.
But I think that's one of the key things is, I think it's only the second crossplay or even multiplayer game available on Luna, right? Because it's got Division 2 and is it the Crew? Have they got?
It's the baseball game's got multiplayer.
Super massive, whatever. Yeah. Okay, Super Mega Baseball. Is that
Super Mega Baseball. I did try that. It ran fine.
So the 3 multiplayer titles that they brought have had crossplay, which is required really. And Geforce now, because they are the PC versions, automatically has crossplay. So I think moving forwards, xCloud is going to have crossplay because they've always had the consistency of Xbox, PC, everything in the Microsoft ecosystem is crossplay in itself. I don't think they do outside of that loop yet, but I think there are plans for them to start doing that as well. So Stadia is the outlier there that has been pretty much its closed ecosystem all this time. So I really hope that Stadia opens up to the crossplay more because Division 2, I think, is the only real crossplay title in that mix. Oh, I know it is. Yeah, I think it is the only one, right? I'm not sure if Crew 2 is.
Elder Scrolls.
Oh yeah, of course. But those games are doing quite well on Stadia and have that consistent player base, whereas we know that Destiny 2 plummets quite a lot when we don't have those abilities, and a lot of the other multiplayer games are dead on arrival because if we get that free to play weekend, great, everybody jumps on, we can see those games. Outside of that window, there's just nobody on it. There's nowhere near. I tried to play Super Mega Bomberman, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago. No chance. I was sat there for about 10 minutes waiting for a match, and I don't think I saw the counter above 20, so it kind of gave up. So I think no matter what the cloud gaming platform is, crossplay is key going forwards. I don't think any of these cloud platforms are going to be able to survive without crossplay. So I'm sure you guys agree, but feel free to chime in there.
And that's why Luna has been smart. And that's why not all the games have multiplayer. They are trying to take that sort of narrative. I hate using the word narrative because we seem to use it a hell of a lot in the cloud gaming community. But yes, the narrative is taken away about Luna won't have no multiplayer, but that's because we're not putting any multiplayer games on. So that is something they've been clever about. I just want to touch on something what Jerry said not so long ago. It is something which has crept up this week in the Stadia community of that Luna is not a platform. It is just a PC in the cloud. What Jerry alluded to there is some of the games on Luna have been like proper ports. This is something to keep an eye on, because we do know that Luna is working on their friends list, their achievements, and other things. It's just a point I just wanted to raise because there just seems to be Luna. All you have to do is press a button and it's on Luna. All you have to do is press a button and it's on Geforce. And I think there's actually a little lack of maybe a full understanding of Luna. Yes, it's a lot easier to get the games onto Luna, but there's actually more behind the scenes there as well. Sorry for distracting that wee bit of thing there.
No, I think it's an important distinction, and it's something that I've been trying to do more, especially in the comparisons, because you'll see that my videos are starting to break up the comparisons in a slightly different way, because especially with Geforce now, we've got a great browser comparison. We've got Boosteroid, Stadia, and Geforce now can all run in a browser. People in the US won't really know about Boosteroid, but actually they've been making huge strides in Europe, and their tech is not bad, and they are getting the games that Geforce Now and Stadia aren't getting. I'm not sure how they're getting them or when they're going to get into trouble about it, but it's doing
See,
well.
It was a platform that I was already interested in because they were the first to bring iOS, and then they brought a London data center. So part of me is like, oh, maybe jump back into Boosteroid because the games. I get emails all the time saying, play this new game now. So
They've got Warzone, they've got all the Ubisoft titles, they've got a load of the Epic. They're pretty much mostly Steam games, but there's a few Epic, there's a couple of Origin, and I think they've got pretty much all of the Ubisoft titles there. I'm not quite sure what the publisher deal is with them, and that's the only thing that I would say to keep an eye on with Boosteroid. But so far, so good. And their annual deal is ridiculous. It's, I think, £50 or €50 for a year. It makes it less.
People got to be careful what they wish for, because popularity can make you lose games. Look what happened to GeForce Now when it left beta last year. It lost tons. I mean, I was playing Call of Duty on there, and I was like, this is freaking amazing. The next day, gone. As soon as it came out of beta, as soon as the discussion started, a bunch of companies started to pull, and I've worried about Boosteroid because the gaming library is impressive. I've run it here. It's obviously unplayable in the States, but I have an account. I've checked it out, and I'm thinking the bigger that service gets and the better they get at doing what they're going to do, watch the games leave. It's going to happen.
And that's what I'm wondering, is when they're going to have their GeForce Now moment where publishers are going to go, oh, hang on a minute, we didn't agree to this. So yeah, for now it's definitely a good deal. But yeah, so we've got the browsers, and to make that big distinction, I only really class the virtual PCs or the cloud PCs that Duncan's saying as shadow and maximum settings. I don't. The others to me are all bespoke platforms. So GeForce Now, yes, it kind of behaves like a PC in the cloud, but it's very custom software, custom ports. They do have a lot of hook-ins with Ansel, all the features that are available. We've done a video of all the features that are actually available on GeForce Now that people may not know about. And that's the sort of stuff that I'm worried that we'll lose in the browsers. But that's one of the things is we've got browsers, we've got dedicated apps, and we've got full-blown PCs. So it's only a full-blown PC to me if you've got to boot it up, install stuff, and keep it up to date. And the only two things that I need to do for that at the moment are maximum settings and shadow PC. Everything else, I just pick a game and press play.
Absolutely. And I think you see a lot of my videos change as well, where it's like GeForce Now, Luna here, and Stadia in comparisons, and I leave Shadow, and it's like Shadow and maximum settings, because I try to tell people, like, these are so different. Like, I can show you what they look like, but these are not comparable in any way, not for the consumer, not for how they work. So I've been doing the same. I really try to take, like, those cloud gaming services and then the cloud PC services and really start kind of separating them and showing their strengths and differences rather than putting them all together. Not to mention the fact, if you try to make like a 5 or 6 platform comparison video, good luck side by side in that stuff and getting it all in there. Forget it. I'm not doing it. Like 3 is my max right now.
Yeah, I've brought mine back down to 3 because even with 4, it just makes the video like 15 minutes long. And if not, you're just like talking about things for about 10 seconds. It's not really much of a comparison. Here's an image, here's another, here's another. So yeah, I think it's important to make those distinctions. And not only that, on the price. There's a huge price difference to things like Shadow and maximum settings to Stadia for what you're getting. And not to forget, no matter what platform you're playing on, unless you've got a subscription, you're going to be buying a game. Unless it's free to play, obviously. Okay, so I did say that we were going to have time for some questions at the end, and we've ended up going up to the 2 hours as usual.
I think we could answer that wee quick question I seen in the chat. What 3 games? That's a nice, easy one.
Yeah, I think what we'll do to round off is we'll give our top 3 games that we want on. They said Stadia, but I think what 3 titles do we want to see day and date on each of the cloud platforms, and who you are and where we can find you. So let's start with Mark.
I don't have 3 games. I was just trying to think.
All right, we'll come back to Mark. Oh,
Yeah, I'll skip the 3 games, but yeah, you can find me on YouTube, MarkWatchVOG, over on Twitter and on TikTok at MarkVOG for 3D printing.
See, I don't really play free-to-play games, but if I knew I had to pick 3, I would say Warhammer, World of Tanks, and Apex Legends.
it's 3 games day and date, not free to
Out,
play.
free-to-play 3 games. Oh, 3 games I would want to come to a subscription.
It's just a platform. It's just 3 games, just anywhere. 3 games day and date.
I would say Stadia. I would love to see it on Stadia because that's where I mostly play. So the more 3 games that can come there, that's to promote the platform.
Let's rephrase the question.
Let's see what tongue is it. What 3 games do you want day and date? Okay, I said 2 before. I would love Persona 5 Strikers. I would like Mass Effect's Legendary Edition, and I would like It Takes 2.
Go on, Duncan.
Okay, 3 games I think should be day and date are FIFA 22, Madden 22, and the next Call of Duty. It is a very easy list. What game I would want day and date?
That's so far now. Isn't that like November's games? They're like fall games then.
Yeah, but if you want to say one game I want day and date on all the cloud platforms and on Stadia with state share is the next update to the Binding of Isaac.
And where can we find you?
Hold6 on Twitter. Just I haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, and you probably want to escape in cloudy with games and getting shouted at by lots of people.
Jerry.
All right, Mark, you're not the only one. And even sitting here thinking, I can't really pick 3, but what I'm going to say is, and I've said before, I just want all the big games that are releasing to come out everywhere. I granted a lot to ask, but people play everywhere. I play everywhere. And when a game comes out, I want to be able to play it on Geforce Now, Stadia, Luna, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, as much as I can. So for me, big games that are coming out, please try to put them everywhere, especially the big games like FIFA and whatnot that Duncan is mentioning. And of course, YouTube, Game Tech Planet, Twitter, Game Tech Planet, search me, you'll find me.
Awesome. So the only one that I want, and it's only because I've looked at it recently, and it does look awesome. This is the one that I thought was a February game, but I think it's been pushed back to Mark Holtz, which is Nioh 2 or NIOH 2.
Noah 2 and 1. They're both remastered.
Are they? So
Yeah.
2 does look good, and I'm really hoping that comes to something like Geforce Now.
They are 2 games. Yeah, they are very hard, interesting games.
So it'd be really cool to see that. But yeah, I think pretty much any game coming out in the next year, for it to be able to be on any of the cloud platforms would be a bonus at the moment. It's annoying seeing that a game's releasing and we're kind of erring on where can we play it. Is it going to be on GeForce Now? Is it going to be on Stadia? Or are we going to have to do workarounds on Game Pass and things like that? So it'd be great to see more day and date releases, I think, on all platforms.
And that could start off a lovely new discussion. Is Stadia GeForce Now falling behind because they're not getting the games day and date and they have to play catch up? So they're on always constant. So there we go. There's another topic for you.
And we'll leave that for next week. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the CGX cast for joining us as always. Obviously, you can find me, Marchief, on Cloud Gaming Extreme on Twitter and also YouTube. Thanks everybody, and we will see you next time.